A bright young earth scientist journeyed from Africa across the Atlantic to America in search of knowledge. What he discovered was far better. Seated in a meeting of the Society of Exploration Geologists in Dallas, he saw business and pleasure in an artistic blend among scientific professionals. In that moment, he knew he had found vision. Upon returning home to Lagos, Nigeria, he could only find a handful of people to partner with his vision. Many months passed before he finally convinced 9 colleagues to join him at the Federal Palace Hotel one August day for the inaugural meeting of the Lagos Society of Geologists and Geophysicists. The year was 1975, and the visionary was Akomeno Oteri. Co-sailing the Society's fledgling ship beside the young president were fellow geologists Chamberlain Oyibo, Vice President, Jonas Odocha, Secretary, and Akpoyuike Owo, Assistant Secretary. Together, their expedition to further social and technical interaction among professional colleagues began.
I'm Dr. Akomeno Oteri. I'm a geologist of about 48 years experience. I started my working career as a geologist with Mobile Producing Nigeria, where I worked for 4 years. And during that period, I spent a year in Dallas, Texas, undergoing training as a geophysicist.
My name is Chief Chamberlain Oyibo. I'm a geologist, as is obvious. 79 years old. Right now, I'm the chairman of the board of trustees of Nape. Initially, I was vice president when we started. Then I became the second president of the society. And I've been a member. Sometimes not quite active, especially when we started. We were Lagos Society of Geologists and Geophysicists, so we are based in Lagos.
I am Sir Jonas Odocha, a retired Group General Manager of the NNPC, a fellow of NAPE, a fellow and past National President of the NMGS, and currently an energy, environment, and safety consultant, and also a farmer.
My name's Olon Teledokun. I was team geologist for Shell, and I retired in 1996. So I'm a pensioner. I live in Ilorin.
I am Mrs. Ogunsanmi Oyepeju Mofoluwasho, ex-Shell Petroleum. I didn't feel anything strange about my being the only female member of the founders. I was so enthusiastic and excited that we could start an association of our own that will grow to be like the AAPG, that I didn't even have time to think that I am different from the others. My main role was in seeing that technical meetings were well organized and prepared for.
My name is Akpo Awo. I'm a geologist, retired geologist.
My name is Joseph Jedawe. I'm a geologist, of course, graduated from Ibadan in '69. I did my PhD in Moscow in '74.
My name is Ebio Mashola, born some post 70 years. Went to primary school in Lagos, secondary in Lagos, tertiary in the West, UI, and then went abroad for postgraduate.
My name is Akin Ogunjulube. Most people call me Akin. I attended CMS Grammar School, Bariga, Lagos, and the University of Ibadan. Graduated in the geology and joined the NNOC, the precursor of NNPC, in 1973.
While I was on the year training in Dallas, Texas, it was we were working in the office, the MEPC office, the technical office of mobile producing, mobile corporation then, and our colleagues there in MEPC, we were members of the Dallas Geophysical Society, and they took us along to the monthly conferences, and that was where I was introduced to the meetings of the Dallas Geophysical Society, their workings where they were holding monthly meetings, dinners, and giving lectures, listening to technical presentations. And that really excited me, made me join SCG and got interested in having such an association in Nigeria. And while there, where I was there with some colleagues like Victor Yofo, Alaji Bayo Lawal, and also Ikeako. So during that time, we were brainstorming and saying, look, this type of thing is good, we have it in Lagos, in Nigeria. Because at that time in Lagos, all the oil companies, the exploration companies, had their headquarters in Lagos. Most of them were in Lagos Island with a few in VI, in Victoria Island. And therefore, and it was a small community of people. And most of us attended the same universities, University of Ibadan. Most of them were graduates of that university. Then even those who were not from Ibadan, because we were all together within a small space of area, there was this camaraderie among ourselves. So when I got back to Nigeria in 1975, I went to Dallas in 74. We returned to Nigeria in 75. When I now got back, I now started talking to my colleagues in Mobile and those in Chevron, which used to be Gulf at that time, and the other companies like Texaco and all that. And I sensitized them that, look, see the experience we had in Dallas, Texas, and actually not only in Dallas, Texas, it was common in the US then. You had geophysical societies in Houston, Denver, and other cities where there was a lot of oil activity.
We were quite a number that played different roles, but it's important to note that when Dr. Akomeno Oteri returned from Dallas, while we were all working in Mobile, and he brought up the idea of forming a professional society. Those of us, his colleagues, were very, very enthusiastic. And we sat around and thought of how to get this across to quite a number of our professional colleagues. Incidentally, it fell on me to design the questionnaire to reach out to other professionals in the other oil companies on their support for this idea.
I was the publicity secretary for Nape, and I guess they gave me the number 2 serial role because of the way I galvanize people to attend meetings. You know, in those days, we used to hold meetings clandestinely because the establishment didn't give us free hand. Most management of our companies then saw us as radicals who wanted to just form a union. But at the end of the day, we are very pleased at the outcome of NAPE's fortunes today.
I saw it was spearheaded by this young man, Akomeno Oteri, and he had this passion for it, and I said I was going to join. So we joined, and then I don't know how the first elections went, but I said I wasn't going to be president. Ako should be president. I don't know whether I nominated him or somebody nominated him, but I was ready to back him. So I became the first vice president.
I delve into history. In 1975, Akomeno Oteri returned from what you call attachment with Mobile, or what you call cross-posting in Shell. He returned in 1975. He was basically oscillating between Houston and Dallas. And he noticed that there was a Houston Geological Society, which was basically serving the oil industry. So when he returned in 75, he came with this idea that we should be able to set up or form a society here where geologists from the various companies will interact and share ideas as to how to improve on exploration. So the idea caught on. We had our first informal meeting. I think it was in Shembaso Ibo's house in Surulere. I may be wrong, but I think it was in Chambers' house. So when we met, informal meetings, the name came up that we should call the society Lagos Association of Geologists and Geophysicists.
I think it was a few young men who were passionate about geoscience, and they just wanted to have a group that will look after their interest. So we were having meetings sometimes in people's office, yeah, NMP's office sometimes, at Adams. Gradually, we formed the core, which, what's his name? The first, when Oteri came in and became the first guy who put together a Society of Geologists and Geophysicists, I think, if I remember. And that's how, because geophysics really, at that time, was primarily related to oil and gas. So that's how Nape primordial evolution started and grew to what it is today, 45 years after.
Well, Nape is came up by the thinking of one of our good friends who was with me in the University of Ibadan, Akomeno Oteri. That's his name. So he's actually Nape #1. He was the one that brought us all together. So he just felt that we needed a platform to bring together geologists and geophysicists. And in fact, it started as Society of Lagos Society of Geologists and Geophysicists. It was later we found out that we needed to coin a more suitable name, and that was how we changed it to Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists.
There were problems, two problems, basically. And the first problem was with NMGS, because they saw it as a rival society. But we diffused that tension by pointing out to them that the Geological Society of America has various divisions, the mineralogy division, name it. So that sort of settled, it made them feel a bit more comfortable. Although there was this fear that the oil industry will be the major donor for the society, and that will rob them of what they normally get from the oil companies. We also pacified them by telling them that we are not setting up the society to displace them, but to supplement what they are doing. Then the second problem was the nomenclature. Lagos Society of Geologists and Geophysicists. We should realize that the epicenter of the oil industry, even though the companies were domiciled here, the headquarters was not here, but in the field, in the Delta area. And two cities stood out very well. Warri, which took off during the Civil War because most of the companies in the East moved to Warri. And then Port Harcourt, where Shell was deeply entrenched. So with that, we needed now to change the nomenclature. It's no longer a Lagos thing. And that was where the name NAPE, Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, came up.
I think the thing with geology is, I think we need to, first of all, a geologist, you should be very practical. Going to the field, and when you see a rock, you describe it as it is. I would say for myself that NAPE has overmet the expectations. I never ever expected that NAPE will be where it is now. The boundaries where NAPE has reached were never things that I ever thought of or dreamt of.
I would like to see a little more focus on the technical side of NAPE.
A human being, when he's 45, is called middle age. That means it's a last opportunity you have to change career, to change your view, because by that time you probably are married, most likely. You have kids, and you're looking after the kids and your wife and making sure that they survive the environment which they are growing in. So for me, NAPE is at middle-aged. But then, some people retire at 45 to start a new life. Some of us left our original companies and moved on and to start a new life. And that new life probably can lift you up or can bring you down. It depends on how you manage it. So for me, it is the management and the vision of NAPE that could drive it to sustain itself and remain relevant. The word is relevant 40 years or 45 years from now. I wouldn't be here, like I said, but you younger people who may be here should strive to improve, not only technologically, but also vision-wise, because you have to have a vision of, would you be relevant 40 years from now as geoscientist in NAPE, or would you just fizzle out? What would the world look like 40 years hence in terms of energy, since the product that you source for is primarily used to create energy? Would you still be relevant 40 years hence? Or should NAPE gradually evolve to an association of energy geoscientists and not petroleum geoscientists? And again, do you want to lose your acronym NAPE if in 40 years you are still there? Or do you want to just say, okay, Nigerian Association of Petroleum and Energy Scientists? You need to think. That thought is not for me. I'm of the old school. On our way out, the next generation must ensure that NAPE continues to be relevant to the society and to the world.